Tell you one thing, Dave, it's rare that you get one table so comprehensively outpacing the other, but that's the case this afternoon, most certainly. 3 completed matches on table 2, 2 more frames completed over there. As for this table, just a couple of matches completed, and only one of them has been 3-2. This one now, a real crunch affair.
Yeah, and part of the reason it's been so quick over there is how swiftly Joe Perry beat Mark Williams in the first match. He played really well considering some of the struggles he had yesterday. 3-0, much better start to the day. That's his experience, isn't it? Joe Perry coming in day 2, just wiping from his kind of memory what happened on the first day. And as I say, if he wins this match, then he puts himself for now into the playoffs as well. So all to play for here as we approach the final few matches of this group. Of course, Perry has another match to play as well against Mark Selby, so this isn't the end of the road for him. Even if he loses this one, he's got another chance, so I would say he's in a pretty good position. That's a good red. It's been a while actually, hasn't he, since that match with Mark Williams. Joe's just been sat relaxing backstage, but just keeping an eye on the matches. He's one of these players, he always kind of, Mark Selby's the same, they all sort of know what's happening. Even if it appears they're not watching, they know what's going on, they know what they need to do. Of course Selby is going to be relegated, but Joe Perry very much still in the mix. Our inaugural Championship League winner back in 2008. Well, that's gone wrong.
4.
It has, but Perry has played so much better in his last couple of matches to his first couple. If you watched his match against Ali Carter yesterday, you'll know exactly what I mean. He had an absolute nightmare. He led 2-0 unconvincingly, lost 3-2. He had so many chances.
Joe Perry 4.
All of them are impossible to chronicle, but the one that really does spring to mind, he had a very easy yellow when he was on the verge of winning 3-1 and somehow missed it to the middle pocket. And at that stage, when he'd lost 2 out of 2, I honestly thought his chances of making the playoffs were very slim. I've revised my opinion.
The thing, it wasn't just the results yesterday, it was the performance that was concerning. I think it's played to a very high standard overall. Obviously lost 3-0 to O'Sullivan, but since then he's looked pretty good and finished that last match off nicely with 110. He's 15th century of this year's Championship League.
Yeah, thankfully he was unruffled by that nosebleed. That can be really unsettling, but apparently I'm led to believe he has had them in the past.
Yeah, he's had a few. And obviously, the concern is you never quite know when they're going to arrive.
I have seen blood on the bays, Dave, although not in that instance. Alex Hurricane Higgins. It was a final qualifying round match for the World Championship at the Norbreck Castle Hotel against another famed player from the 80s, Tony Knowles. Knowles built a big first session lead. Higgins decided to nip across the road from the venue to one of his favoured pubs, the Mariners Hotel, tripped up over a low wall and really badly injured his arm, grazed it quite badly. The arm was bleeding somewhat. Didn't have medical assistance though. He bandaged the arm himself, and when he returned to play, it wasn't the best job really. And he came back for the concluding session with the arm dripping, and it went on the table. But the postscript to the story is that he ended up coming back and winning the match.
Well, if ever there was a blood, sweat and tears player, it was Alex Higgins. He might not have been the most reliable to play in the Championship League. Certainly in a bubble anyway. But a player who captivated audiences for many, many years.
Kept his eye on that one, was willing the red close to the side cushion. Of course there is another one just to the right of the pink.
Trusty rest let him down, and worse still, as we saw, this red came back and knocked the other red towards the corner pocket.
Yeah, you know a pot is difficult when Wilson misses it using the rest.
Perry 1.
Perry here is trying to do something he's never done before, which is to beat Kyron Wilson in the Championship League. They've played on 3 previous occasions, all last year, and Wilson won all 3 meetings. he's got a really admirable work ethic, Kyron Wilson. You see him practicing an awful lot on the tables outside the arena. 2 practice tables here. And although he has won a tournament this season, the other Championship League, which was carrying world ranking points, I just get the sense he's due again. He's a formidable player to beat, although against some very top opposition over the last year or two, he has shown cracks when he's been well ahead. Generally speaking, though, I think he's rounding out into a top quality campaigner.
Played what might have been a contender for worst shot of the year against Ronnie O'Sullivan in the World Grand Prix when he went in off that ping. Having held the 3-1 lead, ended up losing 5-3. I spoke to him about it at the last Championship League, and he was still bemused really by what had happened. But there's no doubting his very strong temperament in general. There's not a player in history that hasn't lost matches they should have won. The key is to win matches that maybe you should lose.
29.
He's got a great chance to win this first frame.
Yeah, the pink against O'Sullivan, it wasn't just the execution of it, it was the idea behind it. Nobody could work out what he was trying to do, or even how he... Of course, there was another match against O'Sullivan in the Shanghai Masters where he was 5-1 up, lost 6-5. So Dave's right, even the most mentally tough players, and he's certainly one of those, they're not immune to losing matches in which they hold a position of overwhelming strength.
36.
Meanwhile, Ronnie O'Sullivan's just gifted frame 3 to Mark Williams. He played a very strange shot. Cue ball just above the blue, playing for the yellow, was massively stretching, didn't get the rest or anything out, and basically kind of fell on the shot. And Williams has been handed the perfect chance to win the frame. I suppose O'Sullivan is not under any pressure in terms of qualifying. Maybe he's saving a bit back for the playoffs tonight.
38.
And if Williams were to win that match, he'd be guaranteed at the very worst to hang around for Group 6.
$45. $46. $53. $54. $61.
It's another good contribution. It could yet be another century. It would be his 16th of the Championship League. Main thing is get the frame won, which he should do with this black. We'll put him 64 in front with 59 remaining.
$69. 70. 77. 78.
'I know, Dave, you've mentioned the fact it's Neil Robertson's birthday today. And
84.
Robertson is very proud, and justifiably so, of his records. Making 22 centuries in one tournament is a really extraordinary achievement. But if Wilson carries on like this, and he doesn't win this group, so goes into Group 6 tomorrow and Saturday,
91.
tell you what, that record could be under threat.
Yeah. 92.
Yeah, and of course if he won a group, he'd be coming back for the winners group as well. Not quite made this one yet, still needs black and yellow. There goes the black. Very nicely made break, actually.
99.
Well, I know that Corran's aware of the record
101.
because I told him yesterday morning.
So 16 century breaks in the Championship League for
104.
Corran Wilson this year.
$108. 113.
He's actually second on the list of century break makers this season, 47. Judd Trump's at 60.
119.
He's in a nice groove, and this has been a nice break to clinch the opening frame. Clearance of
Corran Wilson,
126 from Corran Wilson. He ended his last match with a century. He begins this one with a century. He leads Joe Perry by 1 frame to 0.
Peloton, come on, let's get this workout started.
players have said that this week the tables have been slower than they were for our first segment of this tournament, the first 3 groups, back in January. And yet we've seen 19 centuries in this group alone. The most centuries in any one group in this year's tournament, 21. So you've got to think that's under threat. And the afternoon session on table 2 is about to come to a close. And that means over there they've had 4 matches completed. Here we're only into the early stages of the second frame in our 3rd match.
Well, Mark Williams is going to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan 3-1. It means Williams will go 3rd in the table. He'll have 3 points as Perry knocks that good red in. He'll have 3 points, but he'll have won 2 more frames than Kyron Wilson before this match. So for now he goes above Kyron, but obviously that can change depending on this match we're watching here. So Perry is still in the mix himself because he's got another match to play against Mark Selby. So at the moment, Ali Carter and Ronnie O'Sullivan are through. The rest of it is still up for grabs.
9.
One of the most amazing speed disparities I've ever seen between 2 tables. Happened at last year's World Championship. Ronnie O'Sullivan and Ding Junhui played all 8 frames in their second session before Anthony McGill and Jamie Clark had reached
17.
their interval, and they started at exactly the same time.
Yes, it's fair to say that in due course there was a bit more incident in that match. McGill will be here tomorrow, in fact, for Group 6.
23. 30. 31.
Played that one nicely, sort of bent his knees almost into the shot as he pushed the cue ball through. Not pushed it literally.
$38. 39.
There is no getting away from it. Joe Perry in his last couple of matches and now this looks a different player to the one who was devoid of confidence in his first 2 matches yesterday. And for him that's really good, because next week's Welsh Open is a massive tournament for him
44.
in terms of the rankings and the prospect of getting into the Players' Championship. He did not want to go to the Celtic Manor Resort,
45.
playing how he was to start this group off.
Well, that was his problem, wasn't it, when he got called up for the Masters, because of course Judd Trump and Jack Lazowski withdrew positive COVID tests. Joe got called up, but he hadn't practiced because he wasn't expecting to play. So he was very, very rusty, and that showed in the match he played. But this is a different story. He's
53.
beginning to find a bit of form this week, and that's one of the real positive things about the Championship League. You get guaranteed 6 matches against good quality opposition. Turn up at the Masters, lost to Dave Gilbert, but he looked like a man who hadn't played snooker for a few weeks.
60. $61.
The stats on the Williams victory over Ronnie O'Sullivan. Williams had a 1-3-4 in the
68.
second frame, finished off with a 1-3-3.
$60.
So, already a snooker required. Looks like end of break, but he's a big favourite, of course, for the frame.
It's touching ball.
Ooh. Wow. Well, it's now 2 snookers needed, so that's a bit of a blunder, really, from Perry.
David's 1 snooker needed. 67 on the table, 69 behind. You know, Dave's right in the first place, and I'm not completely incorrect because they put 7 points up. But if you think about it, it was touching ball and he played off the black, in off. Yeah, but the ball he was going away from was the red, so that should be 4 away. Yeah, the ball he was on was the red, so although he went in off the black as such, that is just 4 points.
Well, as long as touching ball was called. If it's touching ball, that can't be a 7-point foul.
It definitely was called because I mentioned that on commentary.
16.
We're not in the arena, so we don't know what the scoreboard says in there. Well, now we know. Gonna have some fun and games here, Dave, if he gets the snooker.
Well, I'm just making sure that we've got it right, but he potted the black. He wasn't on a red. He was called touching ball. Okay, he's hit the black and gone in off, but he's on the red. So it must be a 4-point foul, surely.
$23. Motion 23.
Has the cue ball travelled far enough to be a snooker? Given all the confusion, there's a part of me, Dave, that hopes it hasn't. And all of this would have been unnecessary had the in-off not taken place. I think Wilson might well have conceded. I glean from Wilson's reaction there that the cue ball might have just veered off. It has done a couple of times going across table in the balk end.
It's sort of typical when you've made a bit of an error that, you know, those reds suddenly stay out. He's had a couple of chances to kill this frame off once and for all.
Wilson's head bowed because he's desperately in need of a high value colour. It's imperative.
Pink.
What a pot! What a pot that was! The frame that refuses to die. Well, if he wins this frame after that, Joe Perry will be in pieces.
Wilson 7.
As Wilson just overran the cue ball. Wilson needs one.
And pot this, then it should be one each after all. Looks like he couldn't quite see the potting angle either way.